Warm greetings, everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to another session of Wednesdays for Water. The conversation today is on convergence of science and society in lake conservation. The objective of for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions they are working on and seeking upon. Wednesdays for Water has expanded since then to have more activities like Friday Waters and Monday Munching with Women for Water as online activities, besides organizing on-site water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. At W4W, we believe that water conversation is crucial to water conservation. My name is Mansee Bal Bhargava, and I'm the host for the session today from W4W and also from the Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. In today's session, our convergence of science and society in lake conservation, it is a great honor to have Dr. TVR Ramchandra. Firstly, thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to share your insights on the subject. And it is really great pleasure to meet you online here after meeting you on site for the first time, to be honest, in Hyderabad just a few months ago. Before I invite you to the session, sir, I would like to bring your notice to the Lake-Pond series that W4W and Wednesdays for Water has been hosting. As we know, there is plethora of science and technology and how to manage lakes in many possible ways. However, the knowledge remains fragmented by region, sector, discipline, ideas, and even ideology. In addition, the high scientific value knowledge needs decoding for operationalization and understanding by the very lay persons who are actually going to do things on ground and who also carry a perceived perception as well as preference over the lakes. Therefore, it is extremely important that scientists like TVR, sir, I'm just putting his short name as he's usually known in the circle, that it is extremely important that such scientists have really spent their entire life to see how can we bring the science and society together in a best possible way, and also put the repository in a very scientific manner so that there's an institutional memory developed. Before I invite sir, I would also like to give a warm introduction as well as welcome to him to really take this session onwards. So Dr. TVR Ramchandra, it's a very huge resume, and I'm going to keep it short so that we can hear right from him. Dr. TV Ramchandra is Coordinator of Energy and Wetlands Research Group and convener of the Environmental Information System at the Center for Ecological Sciences at IISc. During the past several years, he has established an active school of research in the area of energy and environment. He's also a member of several organizations. I'm just naming few: Karnataka State Wetland Authority, Kerala Wetland Authority, National Wetland Committee of the Government of India, and many more. And he has also been recipient of several awards. Again, I'm just naming a few: Karnataka State Parisar Award, Karnataka Rajyotsav Award, and many times the NBIS Award of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Namma Bangalorean Award, and it is really a pleasure to read them all out. He also featured in the recent global ranking of top 2% of the scientists with ranking in environment, energy, enabling, and strategic technologies. His research interests are in the area of aquatic ecosystems, biodiversity, ecological modeling, Western Ghats ecology, energy systems, renewable energy, and conservation planning, and many more. He has published several research papers in national and international journals, written book chapters, also has presented papers in national and international symposiums, and several books. In addition, I think his public lectures even outnumber many of the scientists in the country, over 1,500 public lectures at national and international conferences. Most interesting for me, as we seek more and more education on lakes, water bodies, water management, people management, he has guided more than 150 master students and many doctoral students. And thank you so much, TVR sir, for taking your time out and also accepting to really share your insights over decades I now hand it over to you and also request you to make your presentation. You will have around 25 minutes, and then we have a very good set of participants here who will take things from there to ask you questions as a layperson. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Okay, good evening to everyone. So now I'm sharing my slides. Is it visible? Slides are visible and I'm
Yes,
audible?
sir. Yes, you are audible. Slides are visible. Yeah.
Well, the title of my talk is Convergence of Science and Society in Lake Conservation. In fact, if you had looked at my writings, I often keep writing that science, society, culture, and spirituality should go hand in hand if you want to see the prosperity in the country or in the region and sustenance of the natural resources. In fact, that's what I'm going to demonstrate through my presentation of the next 25 minutes. So, let me take you to the Bangalore. If you look at Bangalore topography, it's about 740 square kilometer. Way back in 1800, in this topography of undulating terrain, we had 1,452 water bodies. Earlier river was passing through the Bangalore. There were three major rivers, and elders have put the bunds at regular interval. That's how the flowing water was arrested to meet the irrigation and drinking water requirement in the region. Today we have 216 lakes. Out of that, we have studied 193 lakes and less than 3% green cover in the city. And the city, which was a garden city, became a garbage city. And today it's a dead city. And to repeat what I said, the lakes are interconnected in Bangalore. If we re-establish the interconnectivity, we have solved many problems of the lake, like the quality aspect and also the flooding, etc. So now let us try to understand how the lakes are beneficial to the society. When the lakes were there, people were getting water at less than 100 feet. After removing the lake, in 5 or 6 years, I noticed the groundwater table dipped to 600 feet. Today, after 23 years, we have gone down 1,800 feet in Nakshat Lake and there is no water. That highlights that if the lake is there, then people get the water. And you might ask, can I restore the lake and get back the situation? Sarki Lake was rejuvenated recently, about 3 years back. Within a year of rejuvenation, groundwater table went up by 300 feet. And last year, when entire city faced a severe water crisis and heat wave in Sarki Lake, the groundwater table was less than 500 feet. And also the temperature in the region, because of the high moisture content, temperature was also 2 to 3 degree lower than the other parts of the city. That means if people want the moderate climate, and the water, they need to conserve the lake. So now let us also try to understand how the lakes are useful to the people in terms of the tangible benefit like fish, fodder, the etc. It amounts to our valuation shows that it amounts to about 10,500 rupees per day per hectare. But if they pollute the lake, then the worth comes down to 20 rupees per day per hectare, which will affect the livelihood of the local people. The people like fishermen, washerwomen, the researchers like me and farmers depend on the lake. And of course, the elite section of the society, without understanding the importance of the lake, have been polluting the lake in the city and in many parts of the country also. Now, let us try to understand what are the kinds of the services the lakes provide. Broadly, it is provisioning, regulating, and cultural services. We did a study for the entire Karnataka. We looked at what is the worth of the lake in Karnataka. When we talk about in economic terms, I hope that the degradation will come to an end. That is where we need to tell the people what is the worth of the lake. And when we did the study, in Karnataka, there are 39,000 lakes are there. And we did a mapping of the lake based on the size. That is what is shown here. And if you look at the worth of the lake, see, you will see that the provisioning services is about 49 billion rupees per year, whereas regulating services is about 196 billion rupees per year, and cultural services about 37 billion rupees, or the total is about 284 billion rupees per year. And if you look at the asset value, based on this every year 294 billion rupees per year, it amounts to about 7,320 billion rupees. That is the worth of the lake. That is what is benefiting the society and local community. Now, we also looked at what is the per hectare value. It amounts to about 10 lakh rupees per hectare per year. It's about 1 million rupees. That is the number you can keep in mind when you talk about the importance of the lake, because it gives the services worth 1 million rupees per hectare per year. If you have a 100-hectare lake, you just multiply this with 100 hectare, you will know the worth of the lake in your region. So now, what is the problem for the lakes in Bangalore? The mainly the you know the We have forgotten the urban planning. Absence of water urbanism has led to the water crisis. We transformed the porous landscape to the paved landscape in the name of the development. The absence of urban spaces that allow the free flow and percolation of water and air is essential for the survival of the region. And lack of groundwater recharge, coupled with the over exploitation, contributed to the groundwater crisis in the region. And Bangalore depends on the groundwater to an extent of 40%. We require about 18 TMC of water. About 14 TMC come from Kaveri, and remaining 4 TMC come from the groundwater reserve. That is where the lakes and the groundwater plays an important role in the system in sustaining the water and providing the livelihood to the people. For that, we need to ensure that interconnectivity among the lake is also maintained. The solution, which I have been talking, is creating the ecological forest bases through trees, parks, forests, wetlands, and grasslands. Okay. So now, when we talk about sustainability, and there are three pillars of sustainability: environmental, social, and economic. You need to respect all these three pillars. Then only you can think about sustainability and meet the United Nations, the goals of sustainable development. So now, the let us look at the threats to the lakes in Bangalore. One is unplanned, irresponsible urbanization. We have lost the floodplain. Water scarcity is happening, oxygen deficiency, and loss of interconnectivity among the wetlands. Now, when you look at the kind of urbanization that we have noted, 68% was green cover in 70s, and about 8% is red. Red is the building, green is the vegetation and trees. And today, 2025, it is about 87% is red. If you animate this, 1973, the city was a porous landscape with a greenery of 68% and the water bodies. And the 92, with the industries coming up in Bangalore at Pindi and Kormangala, we saw the transition happening. Then 99, 2000 at outskirts, we saw the growth. Then 2006, further intensification. 2009, further intensification happened. And that's how the landscape, which was had about 8% under paved surfaces, became 86.6 or 87% over a period of last 5 decades. And that is the root cause of the problem for the people, and people don't have water today. So now there has been 1,078% increase in the paved surface. We lost 88% vegetation and 79% of the water body. And the city is suffering without oxygen and water. And also there are kidney failures, which I'll take up later. And our prediction also shows that we will completely choke the city in another year or two. That is what I've been telling the government. This is enough. We need to decongest the city to provide water and livable city to the Bangaloreans. Okay. So now, to summarize, what I said is the urban growth has surpassed the carrying capacity of the region, which is assessed considering the supportive capacity and assimilative capacity. When you see the pollutant in air or water, it shows that we have crossed the assimilative capacity. And also we have lost the water bodies and trees, etc. That is where the supporting capacity is also lost in the system. Now we need to think about regaining a Bangalore by decongesting Bangalore. Okay. Now let us look at how many trees are there in Bangalore. This is our IISc campus, which is about 400 acres. In IISc campus, we did a mapping of trees, linked that with the remote sensing data. Like this, we did a couple of ground measurement in couple of wards. And then using remote sensing data of high spatial resolution, we quantified the trees for the entire Bangalore. We overlaid the ward boundary. That's how we got the number of trees per ward and number of trees per person. And as per our estimate, there is a 14 lakh 78,000 trees are there in Bangalore for a stable population of 95 lakh. That is where for every 7% there is one tree. You might ask how many trees are required per person. See, when we breathe, we give out a carbon dioxide to an extent of 540 to 980 grams per person per day. 1 hectare of tree, they takes the carbon dioxide to an extent of 9 tons. By that ratio, for every person, there should have been 7 to 8 trees. But what is happening in Bangalore is for every 7%, there is one tree. If you look at the worth of the tree, this gives aptly the picturizes the worth of the tree. You can conduct a classroom in under the tree. It's more pleasant than having the AC room in a place. Okay. Now let us look at the lakes in Bangalore. In 1973, we had 546 lakes, and today we have 216 lakes. That means we have lost about 530 lakes over a period of time of 5 decades. And there has been a 79% decline. And out of that, whichever lake we have, 98% is encroached by the influential section of society. And when we look at Rajakaluways or the stormwater drain, that encroachment also amounts to about 82%. So now, to summarize what I said, 88% decline in tree cover has led to the oxygen deficiency, 79% decline in the lakes. Lakes are the kidneys of the landscape. It helps in maintaining the water quality, etc. That means, destroying the lake or degrading the lake has declined the groundwater table, and that also is coupled with the over exploitation by the commercial sector. When we did the study in rural Bangalore and urban Bangalore, you will see that the exploitation of the groundwater is much higher than the stock. So that is where the crisis of groundwater happens in the city. So now let us also look at other benefit the people get from the lakes and the vegetation cover. See, in the 90s, we had a temperature of 21 degrees. It became the 26 degrees in 2000 and 28 degrees in 2010. And today it's about 36 to 39 degrees Celsius. And to understand the role of wetlands and the trees, you move from the center of the city in a direction. You will see that wherever vegetation is there and wherever water bodies are there, temperature is at least 2 degrees lower, which highlights that vegetation in the form of parks, etc., and the water body help in moderating the microclimate. That is where we require these green spaces and open spaces to provide recreation as well as the essential the entities like oxygen, water, etc. for our children. Now, how the lake is being abused? People dump the solid waste, people encroach the lake, and they construct the lake view apartment. And when the lake is also receives the sustained inflow of the untreated sewage. When the lake is clean, it looks like this. When the lake is polluted, it shows the profuse growth of microphyte, invasive species. And of course, there are instances of frothing of lake and a fire in the lake in the last 3 years. And the solution for frothing is we should have removed the phosphorus from the wastewater. Phosphorus is contributing to the frothing in the lake. But unfortunately, what the bureaucracy did was they put the barricade to show that they have solved the problem. But that is not the sustainable solution. Now, to summarize what I said so far, when the lake is like this, there is no sunlight penetration because of the profuse growth of macrophyte. In the absence of sunlight, the algae doesn't grow. In absence of algae, the zooplankton doesn't grow, and that's how the fish is not there. That's how the worth of the lake comes down from 10,500 rupees per hectare per day to 20 rupees per hectare per day. And other problem we are facing is the heavy metal contamination. This lake water is used by the people, local people, to grow the vegetables like pudina, spinach, radish, etc. And also fish in the lake is being consumed by the people. When we collected the sample of all these food items, fish, vegetables, etc., including milk, we found heavy metal in the the all the food items. That means the heavy metal in our food chain is creating the health hazard in the form of cancer and kidney failure. Cancer, the Bangalore is number one as per the latest statistics. Kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today is 1 in 5,000. Every ward in Bangalore city has the dialysis unit. Unfortunately, more and more younger children are getting affected because of the pollutant in the water. In fact, when I do the studies in the schools, I noticed in the Vartur and vicinity of peri-urban area, the local school, I come across the girls children losing the kidney in in the LKG. One girl child lost the kidney, whereas in the same school, 8th standard, the kid has lost both the kidney. And when the principal wanted me to visit other classes, I said I won't visit other classes because that is enough for me to show the serious situation in the region. After 4 months when I visited the school, when I asked the principal, that I want to meet the girl who has lost both the kidneys so that we can do something from the through the CSR, etc. At that time, the principal told me that kid is no more. The youth are the asset of the nation. We are losing the youth because of our irresponsible action of polluting the water and the air. And that is where we need to wake up and make sure that we do not pollute. That is where science comes to the picture. When the science gives this kind of insights, so the local society can move forward. That's what happened in the case of Belandur Lake. So, we developed the Bangalore Urban Information System to for the advocacy and decision making, which gives what is happening in Bangalore, how the urbanization, what is the water scarcity in the region, what are the lakes are there in the city and reef. Similarly, we developed the Bangalore Lake Information System, which gives the data for 193 lakes, which my students are monitored. You know, we have put the water quality, the microalgae, the zooplankton, fish data for each lake, the valley wise, and also for each lake we have put it, and also encroachment details. So our thinking is that when this data is available, somebody will go to the judiciary, and judiciary will think positively and give the verdict to evict these encroachers of these vital ecosystems. So then, see, the other problems of the lake is abuse of wetland, the floods and water scarcity in the region. In the both happens in the same period. That is what is happening every year since 2001. And the flooding is because of loss of interconnectivity and also narrowing the drain with concretization. The municipality has come up with the program. Every time when flood happens, they come up with a program of concretization. They call that as a waterfront and all kinds of irresponsible things, which is only to amass the wealth. The one other drain which was 80 meter, today it's about 18 meter. And when the flooding happened with this, then when the court asked them to solve the problem within a year, then the city municipality put up one more drain parallel to this drain. You see the level of incompetency in the system. So now what is the solution for the Bangalore? One is the rainwater harvesting, the wastewater treatment and reuse, rejuvenating the lakes. So now how we have contributed to the society is we developed the system which is a cost effective, the based on the nature based solution for the wastewater treatment. Way back in 2010, this was implemented at a place called Jakkur Lake. The 2005, if you look at my publication, Jakkur Lake water and also surrounding, there were 25 wells were there. All of them had nitrate, which shows there is a carcinogen in the water. At the time, we pushed the government to rejuvenate the lake, and I was a member of the committee. And that is where I just, when the money was not when the money given was not sufficient to have tertiary treatment plant, what I did is I convinced the committee to have the nature-based solution of constructive wetland and algal pond. And we have monitored this lake for the last 12 years, and there has been a removal of 80 to 90% removal of nutrients. That means people are getting tertiary treated water. There are 300 wells in the locality. None of them have the nitrate. That means my science has given the clean water at least to those 300 well users. Okay. So now when you look at what could be the sustainable solution for Bangalore, one is replicating this model in Bangalore. We can treat 18 TMC of wastewater so that we'll have a 16 TMC of treated wastewater. And if we do the rainwater harvesting, the city receives 700 to 800 millimeter rainfall. That means 15 TMC of rainwater is available. City requires 18 TMC. That means 70% of the water required for Bangalorean is available in the form of rainwater. If you catch it through the rejuvenated lake, then we will have the water. 16 the 15 TMC because of rainwater harvesting and 16 TMC because of the wastewater treatment. That is where I have a 5R formula. First R is the responsible citizen. People will be responsible when they are sensitized with the environmental knowledge. And when they are responsible, they rejuvenate the lake so that I can retain the rainwater. And they also allow the reuse and recycle of the wastewater. That is where we can achieve the water sustainability through the people, for the people. Now, you see that how Belandur and Vartur Lake, which was in the news, I prepared the blueprint and it was lying in my office for some time. When local youth approached me, I gave the report to them. So they took it to the Supreme Court. The Green Bench of the Supreme Court penalized the government of Karnataka 500 crores, which was kept in an escrow account. And the lake is getting rejuvenated today. And I am a member of the committee. And when you look at the Vartur and Balandur Lake today, So you can see we have looked at what is the water quality, what is the sediment quality in the lake, because we are talking about the silt and we wanted to give the silt to the local farmers without any contaminant. That is where we assess the contaminant status of the thing, and we notice that Vartur Lake doesn't have the contaminated silt, whereas the Belandur has the some contamination. That's where we gave the silt of Vartur Lake to 400-acre farmers. And after 3 months, when I visited a farmer, they, they have used this silt for the agriculture field, which is about 11 million cubic meter. This silt was rich in nutrient. When I visited the farmers, which I do every month as a part of the committee member, when I visited after 3 months of giving the silt, each farmer shows me the bumper crop. They are so happy, and each farmer tells me they got 1.5 lakh additional revenue because of this intervention by me. So that means the nutrient rich silt which was there in the lake provided them an opportunity not to use the fertilizer. At the same time, it gave a higher yield. Because of that, their earning is 1.5 lakh rupee per hectare per year, per season, and they grow thrice a year these crops. And that means you can say that 4.5 lakh per year is the revenue from the sale for the local people. That's how the science has gone to the society and benefit of society. Now I'm in the last part of my talk. What we have done at various part. If you come to ISC campus, you will see the lake created by me. And not only my students are happy, they use it for the biofuel study. Even animals are there. I have otter in the lake. And also we map the biodiversity. There is enough algae, fish, etc. And also when I meet people, if they are influential and resourceful, we make them to construct the lake. That's what happened in one of the dry taluk of Karnataka, where there was no water during 2014 and 15. When we gave the proposal to this saint, within a 15 days, he created a lake based on our technical report, and the success is because of the youth. When I saw the youth actively involved, I found that the Science and Engineering College youth are taken part, and CEO of Science and Engineering College also was quite the young. So when we talked to him about creating another lake in his campus, which stores 25 lakh liters of water. When I visit the campus in 2018, I visit regularly as a guest faculty. I see the greenery with abundant resources of water and smile on our face. Okay. If you come to my campus, you will see this climber. I was fascinated by this architecture. I felt that I should have it in Bangalore, that too in my campus. I brought that seed to the campus. There were 14 seeds in that pot. I planted out of 14 seeds, the seven seeds in the seven location in the campus. Out of seven location, only one location it has survived. That is next to the building where I worked for 2 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care. In front of this building, we created a mini forest of native species in 2 hectares area. 49 native species, 500 sapling were planted way back in 90s. Now today, if you come here, you get a feel of the rainforest with a rich biodiversity of slender lorries, varieties of snakes, etc. And more importantly, groundwater table, which was 150 earlier, 150 feet earlier. Today, I have the water at 10 to 15 feet. And not only the water, I also have a temperature which is at least 2 degrees lower. That means this is the model to be replicated in all wards and villages in our country, so that we can ensure the sustenance of water. That is the lifeline of the people in the region. So now that is what we communicate to the society. We have a various program. You can see my audience. Unlike this audience, I have the audience ranges from 2,000 to 3,000. Apart from that, I also, this is a program called Know Your Ecosystem. We have been doing it from 98, and 555 program we conducted so far. And also, I offer a course for people working in industries and university for the last 22 years. Probably this is the only course in the globe which has been offered for the 22 years continuously. That's how we do the capacity building at all levels for the school children, then also working professional levels. Now, we also organize a symposium, popularly known as Lake Symposium. Uniqueness of this event is this is, it's an international event. About 1,000 people participate. Out of that, 20 to 25% of the school and college students. School and college students do the experiment related to the nature, like carbon sequestration, water quality monitoring, etc. You can see the children being trained by my students, and they go and collect the sample, they analyze, and in the rural area, the children do the biodiversity mapping. That's how we are sensitizing the youth at the local level. And now the current year is the 25th year. and we are celebrating the 25th year in various schools in Bangalore. You are also most welcome to attend the program, which is scheduled on 22nd of this month. So now, if you need more details, you can access my webpage. These are my portals, and this is my email ID. I do not use mobile. The best way to reach me is through the email. And when you access my webpage, you will see all our publication as put online, and also our videos. The lectures are also available online. And also, we have set up the water testing lab in various schools in Karnataka for the benefit of the rural schools. My idea is when we sensitize the youth with this knowledge, that child will not pollute the water. That is what we are trying to do that. So our agenda of science is to sow the seeds of knowledge in this young brain, and they become an asset to the nation. When they do become asset to the nation, they do a good job, and there is a smile on everybody's face. Thank you very much for listening to me. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer that. I think I have taken 25 minutes. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Mansi,
Thank you
please.
so much. As always, as disciplined as I was writing you an email, and we have been conversation doing the conversation through email for last 2.5 months to have this session. Extremely humbled to see the kind of work which you showed from your presentation of the time from Bangalore's uh, garden city to garbage city, and then how small efforts and especially how exemplar efforts by scientists and connecting with the society, especially the younger generation from school to college, can really bring hope that we still can save and protect our lakes. One of the most important part for me from your presentation, having working on lakes for nearly 30 years, is how you really simply presented the ecosystem services that can be monetized, because often this question arises amongst people: how much is the value of a lake? And then we need to really look at the ecosystem service framework and also decode every aspect of it: the cultural value, the physical value, the infrastructure value, all other values. And that was for me eye opening, as well as something which I would really like to take it further in my future course of works. Another important thing which you presented from your work, when that is quite alarming, and I want to reciprocate that with news from Ahmedabad, that when I did my master's thesis way back in 1997-98, Ahmedabad recorded 630 lakes, and after the National Lake Conservation Plan came in 2004 and implemented in 2011, Ahmedabad registered only 122 lakes. So somewhere we are singing the same song in every city, where we are really not able to still understand the value of the lake. We are unable to convey it to the society. And that is where strong scientists and scientific work like what you are showing, and in a simple strategic way, how it can be brought to every, I will say every ear and every eye of the city, and so that people can really start talking about. The thing is, today we are unaware of what to do with the lakes, most of us, including government officials and layperson citizens like us. And this is where good science, which can be understood by the society, which can be tested by the society, enjoyed by the society, as you showed through the festivals, how people can really play with water testing or look at what is happening. That was very, very, I will say, encouraging for us. So if you don't mind and switch off the sharing screen, we can now take the question and answer. I will request all the participants here to post their questions in the chat box or raise their digital hand. And may I now start with my first question to you, and then take it up from chat box and digital hands. Sir, you have mentioned how the silt of the lake water can be so useful. And just 2 days ago, the silt from some lake or pond came in my neighborhood, and they were putting underneath the road and the parking. And I was almost on a fight with them. Sir, if you may please close the screen share, it will be nice. Yeah. Okay. So that will be very interesting for us to see how do we really, I mean, announce to the society that this should not be done. I mean, the people should not bring the upper soil of the lake and the pond and river and put it underneath the building foundation or the lake and all. What kind of mechanisms can we really use when you have really worked so across so many strata of society? How should local authority convey these simple important information to the society? Where is the role of scientists to do that? This is
The
just one
silt.
example I'm giving from the silt, but it can be any other thing as well.
Yeah, the silt being used by our elders. No, they have
Hmm.
used it all along. For
Hmm.
example, Kaveri River Basin, when
Hmm.
people were doing desilting of the lake, there was no
Hmm.
problem in the Kaveri Basin for the water.
Huh.
Especially downstream, Tanjavur belt, etc. They had a annual program or a once in 2 year program of
Yes.
desilting, and
Yeah,
that
it was
silt
a
they were
festival that time. Yes, it used to be
and
festival.
they were using it for agriculture field.
Hmm.
The day when the youth became lazy, when
Huh.
they stopped doing desilting, we saw the problem happening in the region. That is mainly because of the various government program. Giving the freebies is essentially we are killing the youth in our country. The resource of the youth is being diverted for other purposes. It's very unfortunate I see in Karnataka because the money comes to their doorstep and they do not work. We are
Hmm.
losing the youth power in the decision making, etc. That is where we need to maintain that. And in Karnataka, fortunately, because of our sustained effort, many places people have taken up the lake rejuvenation, especially desilting. We have been successful in Mudbidre. For example, Mudbidre Taluk, there were 32 lakes were there. When I asked the saint to do the desilting of 32 lakes, he said that it is not possible for him to do the 32. I told him whether he can do two. When he did two lakes desilting, remaining 30 lakes, desilting was done by the local community as a Shramadhan because the saint has taken part in the system. That is where,
Hmm.
after 3 years, when entire Karnataka faced a severe drought last year,
Hmm.
Vidre didn't face the water crisis. See, we have the solution at our doorstep. Solution
Hmm.
is decentralized management of our natural resources. That's what Mahatma Gandhi talked about, Surajya. We need to
Hmm.
practice Surajya so that everyone get the resources, not for handful of people. And second thing is you also may appreciated our work on ecosystem services. For your information, recently we published a book on ecosystem services covering the forest ecosystem, agriculture ecosystem, and the lake ecosystem in the entire
Wetland,
Karnataka
yes.
district-wise. And the Springer published it on the 13th of October. They released it. And also for your information, the yesterday one of our article was published in the Nature. For a
Hmm.
scientist, getting a publication in a Nature
Yes.
journal is always a prime thing. So we were so happy, and there we worked again on the Goa. How the land cover changes is eroding the natural, the capital, and how it affects the local people. All those things we had talked about it. I hope that message people will take it forward, and we will have
Hmm.
a better planning in our system with the time, with the availability of
Yeah.
the information.
Yeah. I will pose few more questions, but let us get the participants on board. I see S. Minu having a question in the chat box. Would you like to unmute yourself and elaborate on the question? Although the question seems quite understandable. Minu, are you around? S. Minu?
Yeah, I am here
Or if I
only.
am pronouncing your
Um,
name wrongly, please pardon me.
my name is Minu.
Okay.
Sir, in your presentation, you have mentioned like for Jakur Lake, after treatment from STP, it is directed to constructed wetland for removing the nutrients. I think it's a good example of establishing nature-based solution. But it can, in Bangalore, we can see it as a isolated studies. Um, because even though it's demonstrated excellent performance in improving water quality, but despite this, similar models have not replicated widely across the cities of the lake. So my doubt is like, are constructed wetland recognized adequately in the city's water management policy?
Well,
This is my
constructed
doubt.
land is being used in our country quite this one. See, I think you are from Kerala. You would have seen in our home the bathroom water comes outside and gets into the garden, where banana and coconut is grown, and nearby there will be a well. Well water is not contaminated. That is because of the uptake of nutrient and chemical ion by these natural entities like plants, etc., plants and soil. So that's where the treatment happens. For your information, this model is being replicated in various lakes in Bangalore. In fact, in Rachanhalli, they tried, and in Belandur, Vartur, since I am in the committee, I am making sure it is being implemented, and the wetland design is being now, whatever the design I had given, they are implementing that. Okay. So that way it is a slow process, but I hope that things will change. Once the people understand the benefits of that, naturally they will start adapting. Otherwise, all those other the technologies are not cost effective, and it's electricity intensive and labor intensive. It fails after the funding stops. Whereas this nature-based solution will continue there. For your information, at Jakur Lake, there is a system for for grass cutting. When farmers have been given the passes to cut the grass, when farmers cut the grasses, you see that constructive wetland management happens, maintenance happens. We don't have to spend money for that. So that is the nature-based solution that has to be replicated throughout the thing. And we are trying to do it in many rural areas in Karnataka and in Kerala, and we have been successful in that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that is also something where you were all talking about Jal Swaraj, where it can be more participatory when we can really link the systems or the value chain of the water body, so that less money is used, less scope of corruption, and more people get engaged into it. So while it is desilting, while it is cutting the vegetation around, or even planting the vegetation around, or fishing. I know many urban lakes, they have stopped the fishing activity, which for me is quite surprising because fishes are extremely important and they need to keep rotating. I also get very disturbed when the fish eggs are brought from place A and put in the place B lake, and it completely changes the ecosystem. And it feels to me like if I am put from here, kept taken out from here and put in some other city, how would I feel? Where are my parents? Where are my siblings? I'm sure the biodiversity also feels that way. The in non-indigenous plantation and also cutting wilderness near my house, sir, in a neighborhood, they cut some 50-100 years old trees, around 2,000 trees of that, and it was done by designers and architects and planners of the city. They cut 2,000 trees around the lake to make an Ayurvedic garden and parking. So, I mean, I don't know how are we thinking and how are we designing lake development. I would like to come back to you on a question on lake development versus lake conservation, but we have a wonderful friend here and from Development Alternatives, Zenat. Would you like to please pose your question or comment? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ramchandra, and thank you, Mansee. This was an amazing sort of masterclass, if I may say.
Yes.
And I am studying nature-based solutions in urban areas and their association with knowledge systems and how that could sort of strengthen and build resilience in the water systems of the city. So I'm from your presentation, a few questions arose because we are also working in development alternatives. We are also working in some parts of northern India to look at lake rejuvenation. One of the things that we are finding is especially the stress in the peri-urban areas. Land is at a premium, and as everywhere where fast urbanization is happening, very little land is available for pre-treatment, and all the storm water and grey water is going into the water body, whatever little is left of the water body. So, the question of what can be done for a pre-treatment before it moves into that space. We have been trying things like floating garden, floating islands and other stuff in the lake, but it doesn't really work effectively. So that was one technical question, but related to it is the query that keeps coming to my mind, which is when these floating islands are removed, because they have to be harvested from time to time. Similarly, when such polluted lake bodies are dredged and you remove the silt, all of these things have toxins in them. And given the fact that many of the peri-urban areas also have industrial effluents, they have fertilizer effluents, which means that there are heavy metals going into the plants and into that soil. Nobody is really testing them. So what has been your, you have tested some of those, and what has been your, what would you suggest to do with these harvested plants, or what to do with these toxic, sort of dredged pieces of soil that come out from the rejuvenation processes? What should be the modus operandi of that?
See, one of the thing is we we arrest the pollutant getting into the lake. That is where the buffer region plays a role. If you look at NGT verdict, I was successful in getting the buffer region of 75-meter the conserved. I always tell the government in that 75-meter, there should not be any construction, but there should be a green region, so that when with the riparian vegetation, when the water passes through that, the treatment will happen. Your agriculture runoff, which you mentioned, can be handled. And the other thing is, you talked about industrial effluent. Industry has no right to pollute our land and water. We need to assert that. If they are doing it, we need to take it up. That's what I have done in Bangalore and other places. And I have questioned even the government when they were trying to give the partially treated water to the neighboring district. I had raised the concern, and Supreme Court looked at my report, and they even stalled that project. But of course, I had a problem with the administration in the city because of my some of the stand in the thing. Now, coming back to your question about the floating the wetland, I would say that we should have the plant which are non-palatable, so that they, if it uptake the heavy metal, then you should not get into the food chain. That precaution we have to take, and that's what we do in Bangalore. And whenever people come, we say that, no, don't use the grasses and such thing, and the non-palatable plants you can use it, and see this one. And you also talked about lakes are contaminated if you do the diesel thing. you know, I would say the first year of diesel, just put the silt nearby and grow the vegetation like grass, etc., and remove the contaminant. The once decontaminated silt, then you can use it for any purpose. And these are all the success model, but we have not scaled it up. But we are successful, and we are happy to see that people are accepting these suggestions. Okay. And we are also trying to see whether industries can be brought to the book. We have such a cruel people in the system. In the midnight, they pump the industrial effluent in the borewell in Bangalore, place called Pina. I have interviewed twice, and I have seen that they do it, but it's all momentary. And local people have a serious health issues and all those things. Unless all the people understand the implication of contamination and talk in one voice, this will bound to happen. But I would say now we need not give the special concession to the industries. Let them do the treatment. They have no right to pollute our lifeline, the water bodies, air, or the land. And let us assert and see that, and we will succeed in that. At least in Bangalore and some parts of Karnataka, I've been successful. With my small voice, I have tried to do it, and I've been successful in that. The similar thing, if people can take it in other place, see, that is where the science plays a role. As you rightly talked about science, what I have done in Bangalore is I have a 42 education institution in our environment education program. If the school or college is near the water body, the children have to do the water quality assessment, sediment assessment. When they understand the pollution and implication of that, I don't have to do anything. Those children will take it forward and assert. That is what we have been doing in Bangalore silently, and we have been successful to some extent. And my agenda of science is, let us decontaminate and make sure our children don't get contamination. Otherwise, Bangalore is suffering today. If you look at kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today it's 1 in 5,000. And dialysis unit is there in every ward. This is because of the industrial effluent getting into our natural resources. We need to assert. We need to wake up, and we need to say the government, development is required, but development is not at the cost of our health of our children. The children in Vattur and Belandur are paying the price. in the form of kidney failure, etc. That is where we have to be careful on
Can
that.
I ask another question, Mansi? Yeah, very quick one.
Please,
Actually, it's
please
a,
go ahead.
little bit of a comment in the sense that as I'm doing my research, and I was so happy to see the knowledge portals you have created. That
Yes.
whole space of how you are looking at it from one educational institution to another, to the society, and also to the local government. And that is a relationship that I am finding missing in most cities that I am studying. The the connection of the science, society, and policy is not there. And the so this really excited me, because you can do continuous science and data creation, and that can be in your library, and nobody will use it. The the policy is made from political agendas, and society works through their own material agendas. But the moment these three things come together, then things change, and data becomes available, and feedback on your system becomes available. And I thought that was very, very exciting. And it would be, it's a model. It's really a management model that I see we should be probably pursuing to get science and knowledge systems in the center of policy making. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think one of the important works which I have always appreciated from TVR sir is that he has really pushed the availability and data and making of the data, not only stopping at making of the data, but also making it accessible to people, as he rightly pointed out in his presentation, so that accountability can be increased. So my next question to you is, sir, about the accountability itself. See, anything that can be measured, can be managed is something which we learn from, I think, childhood now. And when we are seeking accountability from the local authorities, at the same time, we have to seek accountability from the society. And you have been one of the ardent speakers to really talk very straight about how people have been not doing right to lakes, life and lake ecosystem and all. I wish to understand from you about, because you are part of many committees, why are we not able to change the discussion and the policy and tender document about lakes from lake development, DPR to lake conservation DPR? Why is this journey so difficult for local authorities, and how can we scientize this journey and help local authorities to at least change the policy document from lake development to lake conservation? Where do you think we are unable to connect the science part with this policy making part?
Actually, the problem is with the system. We have a nexus of consultant and the corrupt engineers in the system and bureaucrats. That is the root cause of the problem. That is where, activating the local youth plays an important role. I don't go and struggle with the system. Youth in the locality takes it forward, and they come and talk to me. When I give the input, they go and demand. And no bureaucrat can go against the wishes of the local people. That is what we demonstrated in Jakkur Lake. We demonstrated that in Rachanalli Lake or even Sarki Lake. The classic story of the success is because of the local people. People like Professor Butt and elderly people, they push the government to remove the encroachment, to do the rejuvenation. And of course, I was a part of the system in rejuvenation, etc. That is where local people plays a prominent role. For the local people to take it up, we need to sensitize them. That is
Yes.
where the environmental knowledge plays a role. When I
Hmm.
did a study of the environmental knowledge in Bangalore, I found that only 3.5% of Bangalorean are environmentally literate. Okay.
Wow.
That
I'm
means
sure, I
96%
think Ahmedabad will be even
are
worse than
environmentally
that.
illiterate. That is the reason for the pathetic status of natural resources. See, if you want to know, in Bangalore, 3.5% is the environmental literacy. We have green cover of 3.5%. In Shivamogga,
Wow.
we have environmental literacy of 46%, green cover is 50%. In
I,
Uttara Kannada,
I really
our
love the way you put everything, you can quantify everything. And I think that is what people understand very well. Where you were talking about one person should have 7 trees, to where we have 1 tree for 7 people. So, I mean, I think these are strong ways, and you have really set a tone for many lake, I will say lake workers like us, how to really reach out to society, how to reach out to even judiciary, how to reach out to government officers with these numbers, because people understand numbers, and you really put it very nicely. I wish to understand from you, based on this point, on how do we really educate our local officers. I mean, I know you are
Well,
extensively working on both
I will narrate
sides.
a story now. You know,
Please.
look at all the scriptures. Bible talks about nature conservation at least 320 times.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Quran talks of imminent war if you pollute the water. That's where when
Yes.
you visit Dargah, you have to wash your feet and finger with a clean water.
Then go.
It's
Yes.
not that if you
Absolutely.
practice there, you will practice at home as well as in the society. In our literature, it brings out the linkage between the water body, child, and the tree. See, for
Absolutely.
example, Masya Purana says that if you have a well at home, you are wealthy. 10 wells are equal to one lake, 10 lakes are equal to one sarovar, 10 sarovar is equal to one child, and 10 children are equal to one tree. When I write it in other way. I say, when you cut the tree, you are murdering your own 10 children. That becomes quite effective. Once one of the bureaucrat forest officer came to my office with a moisture in his eyes. I asked him what is happening. He said the road widening is happening. I have to remove 179 trees. If I remove 179 trees, tomorrow you will write an article in the press saying that I have murdered 1790 children. If I don't do it, I lose the job. Then I told him, see, nearby there's a vacant area. Why don't you take up the planting of a 4 or 5 years old sapling and transplantation? When he started doing, people appreciated. That is what, we need to bring the awareness in all sections of society in our own way. People understand. I mean, nobody wants to die unhealthy. Nobody wants to die
Absolutely.
unhappy. At least they understand when I speak like this. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm very tempted to ask a question which I was posed 3 years ago when I was in Nobel Prize Teacher Summit as a candidate from India. And we were asked, should teachers be activists? And I am of the opinion, and when I see mentors like you and inspiring people like you, I feel strongly teachers should be activists, and they should learn the art how to mobilize people, how to move hearts, how to move minds, especially people who matter. And in that situation, where do you see the role of scientists stepping out like you have done, not only publishing, but stepping out and trying to make a connect with the society so that people really, because people want to trust scientists at some point in time, in all ways, because we are a trust deficit country. So we need scientists whom we can trust. What will be your message to scientists who are really trying to do things, and how should they really take that pain to go out and step out to connect to the society and bring these figures out? Do we really have more ways to do it, or how do we do it? Not everyone is really of the opinion that teachers should be activists. I believe teachers should be activists. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. See, the teacher has a social responsibility also. One
Absolutely.
is bringing awareness among the children so that he or she transform the child's life. You know, there is no harm, being activist. See, the teaching is a noble profession. We get the
Yes.
respect from the society and we can be the best communicator among the thing. See, wherever
Yes.
I travel, when I talk to the people and when I say I'm a teacher, the kind of respect I get and the kind of hearing I get from the local people, irrespective of their status, whether they are bureaucrats or the farmers, all of them places us with a high regard and respect. There are instances where people have put my photograph in their home, after talking to me. See, that is the change happens. That is what teacher has to do, and we need to bring the awareness. Teacher can communicate effectively with the data, with the scientific information.
Absolutely. So
Then,
teacher has
then
to also do the background work before doing stepping
not
out.
based on the WhatsApp university, the knowledge. We need to move beyond that. Okay, then certainly we can have a society, which in the long run benefit the country also.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking this question further to understand from you. One thing is making a scientific work. Like you mentioned yesterday, you had a publication in Nature, so congratulations on that. And another thing which you have done very diligently is producing citizen science, which all of us can understand. And now, if you have this kind of data system available for Bangalore, I'm really tempted to compare it with when I was in Fulbright professor in Arizona, where they even had a fish count of their Tempe Lake, like you were mentioning in the lakes which you are monitoring through your data system. Where do we stand today in India in terms of making lakes more accountable in terms of data first, and then of course in terms of awareness and about of the society and government officers? So there are three questions actually. And about accountability of those who make those projects. How do we make lake development project in this country where we are having lakes dying every other day? Why are we making lake development projects? So where do we stand today? And how can we stop lake development, to be honest, and work towards lake conservation?
The lake development, the project is taken away by the civil engineers. That is
Yes.
where the problem has come. The absence of ecologists and hydrologist in the system has created the problem. We need a geohydrologist, we need a ecologist to understand the entire system. That is where the scientist has to go behind the thing. He or she has to communicate with the society in the language which the community understand. That's what we do. I write in local media.
Yes.
Also, I come online, in the TV debates and all. So if we shed our the whatever the innovation and do that, we become an effective communicator and people take it positively. Today there are a lot of IT youth. They follow me and they take the suggestions and they do. Sometimes they write to me also. In fact, sometimes they come and tell me they have million rupees and what is to be done, kind of a thing. And there are some
Mm.
planting in some other regions and all. They have taken it up. So there is a thing. See, if it is not happening, means I would say that it is not happening because we didn't communicate to the people. If we
Mm.
do that, the best part is the people. Once they
Yes.
understand, they know how to conserve it, and they will not allow the any contamination to happen in the system. And the best ambassador is the school children and college students. If we
Mm.
can activate them, you will have all the resources in place.
Mm.
Similar work for Bangalore, I did for Western Ghat also. If you
Mm.
look at my website, you will see
Yes.
Western Ghat spatial decisions about system.
Mm.
Last 2 decades of my students' work, we have been put it online where you can visualize eco-sensitive villages. The science always helps. There were no Ramsar wetland in Karnataka. Because of our 2.5 decades work, I was successful in getting the Aganashni estuary as a Ramsar wetland of international importance. Now, in Karnataka, since I am in the committee, we have been successful in getting 4 wetlands as a Ramsar wetland. 10 years back, people were
Mm.
telling there are no Ramsar wetland in Karnataka. That is where science will help. And that is where sustained effort in science will certainly help. We should not work for our one day glory. We should work for the community's benefit. And when you see a smile on the community face, your science is has fulfilled. Okay, that is what we should do.
I think so well put, because science is only useful when you really see society directly benefiting out of it. Indeed, most science is for the society, and scientists like you are doing optimistic science also, and not really only complaining about the problems, but also providing alternate solutions, which is extremely important. And I like the very fact that in today's discussion, the idea of Jal Swaraj through education and science comes out very clear from your presentation. And I think we have to take it very seriously, because we are in a country where we still do not have enough water education, and there are not many courses happening. And then it becomes extremely important and even more difficult for scientists to really communicate the points they want to communicate, because when we talk about lakes, it becomes kind of a distant thing that the lake is somewhere else, and what should I do, why should I do. But today we have many emerging lake enthusiasts, young leaders, as TVR sir also mentioned. 3 years ago, we did a research on emerging lake enthusiasts in the country, and we identified 31 In just a matter of 1 year, we identified 31 lake enthusiasts across the country. Young people looking for direction, looking for right way to restore lakes. And I think it is important that then when we find them, like when TVR sir and many other seniors who have really spent their entire life working on the ecosystems, they are also mentoring these people. As you rightly mentioned, many of them also mentioned your name for that matter, whom we have recorded. We are also coming up with the publication on that. An important aspect which you also raised about how different religion looks at lake, and that is where the philosophy of water also comes into picture. I think the science and technology is important, but the important aspect which you try to convey indirectly and in the beginning of your speech itself, the spiritual connect is equally important. Unless and until we get connected emotionally, spiritually, it is going to become extremely difficult. If there are any questions from the participants, we will take it up as a last question. Otherwise, I will call it off for the day as we started on time. Any questions from any participant? Okay, I see no hand raised, and that brings me to declare the next week's very interesting session, and this week also. Sir, just to help us understand, we are taking this session further to discuss water toxicology and treatment on May 14th at 5 p.m. And we have two scientists coming up who are, again, citizen scientists as well as scientific work doers, where one of them is going to talk about the toxicity of water bodies, and the other scientist is going to talk about what are the possible treatments they have experimented, not what is available across the country. So as you know, as you see that we are continuing the conversation very soon, this month sometime, we are going to reach 350 conversations, making us one of the longest water conversation ever made in the world. And we are very grateful to all our supporters, speakers. More than 600 speakers have spoken on our platform. Many participants who have come, more than 100 youth who have come on our platform to make these conversations meaningful, and also that they are heard. And we feel really deep gratitude to all of them to make us going. We are going until first week of September for sure. But this week, we are not done yet. On May 9th, we are starting a very interesting series of sessions on Friday Water Arts. For May 9th at 5 p.m., we are starting Goa Water Stories, where you are going to hear from the youth of Goa their own narratives about how they connect with water. What are the different aspects of water of Goa? This will be brought to you and co-hosted by Living Waters Museum. So do stay tuned with W4W's Water Conversations. We are here to stay for some more sessions, but if you are interested to be a speaker, on our platforms, do write to us. The email ID is there in the chat box. And if you are interested to have some on-site activities through W4W, we have really designed some very interesting events for very playful and fun events for youth, for children, for society, for even government officers. So we are very much available to host those events at your campus, at our convenience. It's up to you. Thank you so much, TVR sir, and to be with us. And I hope that we stay connected, and I look forward to keep you as my mentor all my life. Thanks a lot, and thanks all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.